Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I cover the Target reparations incident that occurred in Ohio? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I'll put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of this case, including the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. On October 22, 2022, a 37-year-old woman named Karen Ivory entered a Target store in Blue Ash, Ohio. This is near Cincinnati. She went to the checkout with $1,051 worth of merchandise, but did not have enough money to pay for it. Karen became belligerent with the cashier, which led to the cashier notifying a supervisor. Karen confronted the supervisor and talked about how she wanted Target to give her reparations. Apparently, Karen wanted Target to give her some of the items for free as compensation for injustices that have occurred against black people in the past. Karen said that the supervisor had a privileged life. There are many ways to describe the life of a Target employee. Privileged would not be the first term that normally comes to mind. I would think terms like low paid and little chance of promotion would be higher on the list. The supervisor told Karen that if she wanted a donation, she would need to call in the morning. Karen demanded that she be put in touch with somebody that night. She did not want to wait until the morning. During the confrontation, Karen closed the distance between herself and the supervisor. The supervisor would later tell the police that Karen was breathing into her eyeballs. In order to create some space, the supervisor touched Karen's shoulders. Karen started screaming. The supervisor described her as going haywire. Karen pushed the supervisor into soda machines at the cafe counter. A 28-year-old Target security guard intervened. He told Karen to calm down and leave the store, but instead she started screaming at him. Karen started walking toward the security guard, almost like she was chasing him. He retreated to a nearby security office, but Karen pursued him. He tried to close the office door, but she managed to push her way in. As Karen approached the security guard inside the office, he punched her in the face with his right hand. His fist was on target. She immediately fell to the ground. Her personal belongings could be seen scattering on the floor. The security guard used his cell phone to call 911, and the police arrived at the scene not long after this. The guard told the police that during the confrontation, he informed Karen that she needed to back up or leave, but she charged at him. He said he came all the way back into his office, which was an enclosed space. At this point, he hit her in the face. The guard mentioned that the incident was captured on video. An officer asked Karen if she was okay. She replied, "Physically, I am okay. Emotionally, I am very, very angry." The police determined that the security guard acted in self-defense. Karen placed the guard in fear for his safety, and his response was reasonable and lawful. Karen was arrested and charged with disorderly conduct and menacing. She told the police that they were violating her rights as a human being in order to uphold the law. In December of 2022, Karen was convicted of disorderly conduct. She was acquitted on the menacing charge. Karen Ivory was sentenced to 1 day in jail and fined $110. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. At one point when Karen was talking to the police, an officer told her to stop talking. She said, "Do you know who I am? Clearly, you don't know who I am." This phrase, "do you know who I am," is often associated with narcissistic characteristics like grandiosity, a false belief of being special, a sense of entitlement, arrogance, and being condescending. It's almost impossible to use that phrase in a way that looks favorable. I was thinking about ways this line could be delivered without making a person look arrogant. There weren't really many ways to do it. I guess if one emphasized the word you, it could soften the blow. Like if a person said, "Do you know who I am?" Almost like they're asking everybody the same question out of confusion. Outside of that, it's pretty much always a poor decision to use that phrase. It's also unclear what the expected outcome was. Did Karen expect a police officer to say, "I'm so sorry for not recognizing you. What was I thinking? Here's a bunch of money, and please take that Target merchandise with you as well." Item number 2, Karen insisted that she was trying to have a larger conversation about how money works, insisting that it's been working in her community in a very wrong way. Karen said that selfish people were holding other people down. It's almost like she wasn't really trying to get merchandise for free. Rather, this was all about a larger discussion. There was a lofty and philosophical goal for her confrontation at a Target store. She wanted to talk to somebody higher up in the chain of command. Karen said, quote, "I decided to take a stand. This is my Rosa Parks moment. Don't play with me," unquote. When people commit harmful acts that have no good explanation, it is not unusual that they pretend they're trying to open a larger social or philosophical discussion. There was some lofty message that people didn't appreciate. They missed it because of all of the bad behavior. Item number 3. Before the police handcuffed Karen and took her out of the store, the security guard told her that she was no longer allowed in Target. This would have spared Karen from ever having to step in a Target store again. It would have freed her from being tempted to buy low-quality products marketed as if they're high quality. However, Karen didn't see the upside of this decision. She became upset. She was mad that the security guard could not speak for the company during the confrontation, but now he could speak on behalf of Target to ban her from the store. I find it interesting that Karen still framed the problem as a low-level Target employee not being willing to talk to her, when the problem was actually her being aggressive and chasing him. She blamed the person who she victimized. Item number 4. When Karen was trying to explain why she created this incident, she suggested that a Target store was the right place for her to have this conversation. Karen insisted that she was trying to have a hard conversation in a safe place. I think one could make a pretty good argument that Target is the wrong place to have just about any conversation, especially one that would make someone have to stand in a Target store longer than necessary. Why would somebody choose a company with a reputation for terrible labor practices and awful management as a place to have a safe conversation? Item number 5. When Karen was trying to justify her aggressive behavior toward the security guard, she said, "I stood my ground." Here we see yet another controversial application of stand your ground laws. Karen described the security guard's actions by saying, "He hit a woman out of his own fear." To be fair, I think that's exactly what he did, and that's why Karen was arrested. She caused the guard to be in fear. Karen summed up the situation pretty well. Karen explained to the police how, when people are backed into a corner, they can choose to do the right thing or to lash out. In this case, perhaps the right thing to do was to lash out. This brings me to item number 6. Was the security guard justified in punching Karen? Striking somebody with one's fist is rarely a good tactic. I think the security guard was unwise to back himself into a corner, and a lower level of force was probably indicated, like maybe he could have tried pushing her away. Despite this, technically, I think he was justified in striking Karen. She was approaching him aggressively, she was screaming, she forced her way into the office. It makes sense that the guard was fearing for his safety. Now moving to my final thoughts. Karen's declaration of her Rosa Parks moment and her claim about a larger conversation were merely distraction techniques so she could cause trouble. I don't know what her ultimate goal was, but she was not equipped for any size conversation. It really seemed like she just wanted to start a fight. Maybe she thought she could bully Target employees into giving her free merchandise, like she invented a new way of getting what she wanted. Perhaps framing her actions as working towards some greater social discussion was necessary for her to follow through with the disorderly conduct. It was her way of rationalizing her own bad behavior. During her one day in jail, I imagine that Karen told her cellmates that she was a political prisoner, like she bravely stood up to the evil forces of Target who ruled the world of social issues with an iron fist, only to find out, dramatically, that it was just a regular fist traveling at a high speed. I think it's fine to introduce the topic of reparations and have a lively discussion about it, but there is a time and place for everything. The checkout line at Target is probably not the best place to initiate a cultural revolution. Some people believe the marketing strategy of Target is based on pretending that their merchandise is special. If narcissism were a religion, Target would be a divine cathedral. With this in mind, perhaps Karen went to the right place after all. Those are my thoughts on the Reparations Incident at a Target in Ohio. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.